All right, mother chuggers. So it finally happened. I blew a speaker on my H&K 212 cab over here. Um, Long story short, basically, this was the only speaker cab and amp that I've been kind of practicing at the home studio with, and I needed a quick amp that would get me through like a couple weeks of practicing and just at home rehearsals in general. So anyway, I went to, of all places, I went to Guitar Center because we have two here in Vegas, and I'm checking out a couple of different cabs that they have, specifically 212 speaker cabs, and nothing was really priced fairly for what they had for a selection. Not a really good selection. So I started looking at some of the modeling amps that Guitar Center had in stock there at the store, and I came across a demo model of the Catalyst Line 6 Catalyst CX that was in the store, and I wasn't really expecting much. I was like, I started playing around with it, and then it wasn't until I got to the second set of voicings that is specific to the CX line, supposedly derived from the Helix. That is still debatable. That's still unproven at this time. But it wasn't until I got to the second set of voicings where I said, this actually sounds pretty good. And it was on sale. I paid $350 for it. It's the 100-watt version with the 112-inch speaker. Granted, it's only a Line 6 HC or HX or whatever speaker in it. So nothing too good, nothing great. But I tried it next to a Boss Katana Gen 3. And although the Katana technically had a better high gain sound for like pinch harmonics and, just high frequencies, everything else about it I didn't like. I didn't like the clean tones. I didn't like the effects. I actually thought the Line 6 had better effects overall. So anyway, that's kind of like the long story short here. And I'm going to go through a couple of the sounds that I personally really liked and the ones that I ended up saving, which was a clean tone and a high gain tone. And typically, if I need something in between, I'll use a boost pedal that's on my pedal board. But right now, I'm not even hooked up to the pedal board. I'm just hooked directly into the amp with my EMG loaded MH1000 with the Evertune. And I'm going to go through just a couple of good sound samples here. Hopefully, I can do a good volume match. Right now, let's see. Although it has a volume attenuator anywhere from mute to 5 watts, 100 watts. I'm sorry, mute, 5 watts, 50 watts, and 100 watts. So I'm going to go straight to the 50 watt. That way we can get that full definition sound. All right. So I'm going to go straight to the clean channel here. No effects. These are my personal settings. Because you only get 2 channels, which is kind of a gripe with me. But it's still usable enough. I think it's usable enough. Let's go to middle position. So overall, that's actually a pretty nice clean sound. I mean, it's on par with probably my 50 watt Stealth by EVH in terms of just overall clean. Of course, you're gonna have a little more tube warmth with any tube amp really over this, but for the Helix inspired clean sounds that I had to choose from, I think this one's probably the best for my personal preference. I'll go ahead and, by the way, I did buy the Line 6 Catalyst foot switch. I forget what the actual model's called. LFS2. Anyway, it works really well. It's really responsive. In fact, I think it's more responsive than Black Star's foot switch for like the ID series. So that was something that was kind of nice to see. You know, there's still a tiny bit of lag when you switch channels, but not as bad as the Black Star. So that's something worth noting there. I'm going to go ahead and put on my personal effects here that I have saved, which is a chorus and reverb. And I'm just going to play the same exact sounds, starting with a bridge pickup. All right, middle position, same thing. So overall, again, that is my personal taste. If I were to take, by the way, we're just on straight clean. If I were to go, and this is the Helix. So these are my two presets are based on voice 2, all right, of each channel. Okay, so you've got the first 6 on group 1. Group 2 is the next 6 total amp voicings. So if I were to take this, right, take my preset here and go to group 1 on the same preset basically. So everything else is the same. I just went to group 1. No effects. Well, no, we'll keep the effects on. So group 1. So group 1, kind of harsh, really not that great. But if we go to group 2 with the same presets and everything, sounds a lot better, right? Okay. So anyway, next I'm gonna go straight to my personal high gain preset, which is group 2 high gain. The technical name that line 6 assigned to it is badonk, which is fucking stupid, but that's okay. Whatever, as long as it sounds good. All right, we're still on the 50 watt setting. I'm not going to bother going to the 100 watt setting. That way we can kind of get that almost full sound going here. Okay, so just for reference, this is the group 2 setting, and I have the boost on and slamming all the way at about 3 o'clock. All right, gain is below half. I'd say if I were to guess, it's probably at about 10, between 10 and 11 o'clock, and the rest of the EQ is just kind of like set to taste. All right, so pretty much everything is over halfway except for the bass. I think the bass is at just a hair under noon, right? So just under half. The rest of it, as far as the effects go for this channel, I like to play around with effects on this in high gain for like soloing purposes. So it's nothing that I would probably use in a live setting, but just to give you an idea, I put a little bit of delay and an octaver on just for fun, just for shits and giggles. So like if I'm going to be doing like a random solo just for fun, maybe something out of one of our songs, you know. Okay, so not a whole lot of playing here. The big thing here is that I wanted something for home practice, home studio practice, not so much for recording, but also to have something that's semi lightweight to keep in the truck as a backup, just in case, like worst case scenario, right? And I think for being this one, when I paid $350 for this, right, brand new, I think it's absolutely worth the price over something like a Boss Katana. Because I've heard our second guitarist, our new second guitarist, has a Boss Katana. And that was the first thing that he brought when trying out with us, was a Boss Katana. I want to say it was a Gen 2, 100 watt, basically comparable to this. And I thought that sounded, I think this sounds, when this is a 100 watt setting, I think this sounds way better than his Katana sounded, by far. The Boss Katana was super boxy sounding, and you couldn't really get a good saturated tone at band level volumes. It wasn't there. And I think that this is a way better option, because for one, it's cheaper. It sounds a little better for the most part. The only gripe I have with this is the fact that even on high gain, the pinch harmonics on the low string on a guitar, they don't come through as well as many other amps I've tried. And that includes Blackstar. So something to kind of keep in mind here, you know? All right, so the only cons I have with this is just the lack of clarity compared to the Black Star, right? Because I had the Black Star for so long, I've had a couple different variations of the Black Star. It wasn't until after I bought this that I found out Black Star is coming out with the new IDX series. So it's something that I'm definitely going to be checking out at the end of the year. I already talked to Black Star. They said it won't be available in the U.S. market until at least the end of the year. So we're probably talking maybe October or November if we're lucky on that. So yeah, that's the big thing here, is just the fact that there is a little less clarity being a modeling amp. Black Star has a little more clarity, better harmonic overtones. I think that really when you compare, if you're talking about modeling amps just in general, I think it's really between the Line 6 Catalyst and Black Star as a whole. I don't even consider Boss Katana, after the one that I've tried and the one that I've heard at higher level volumes from my other guitarists. I think it's between Catalyst and Black Star. So if you're shopping around right now, I would hold off and wait to see how the Black Star IDX series sounds and feels. Because they are still going to have the tube emulation option, where you can choose between 6L6, Response, EL84, and EL34, I believe. And you still get 3 different channels. That's the other thing I don't understand with this, is why does it only have 2 channels? It's perfectly fine to use at home and as a backup, like I said. It's just, you know, there's a couple of things that could be better. I'm trying to not ramble too much here. I just want to make sure that my opinions kind of are clear enough for you guys that are listening and watching. I don't know. I mean, there's not much else to say about it. I feel like I do feel like putting an 8-ohm speaker in here would have been a better decision on line 6 instead of a 4-ohm speaker, because with a 4-ohm speaker, if you get to the point where you like the amp models and everything, but you want to switch out the speaker, you're going to be super limited on options. Because there just aren't that many 4-ohm speakers out there that you can choose from. So the only one that I can think of is Eminence, and I already have my own thoughts on Eminence speakers, and I'm gonna put that into another video, and which also will go along with the new speaker that I chose for my H&K 212 cab. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be coming up next. Otherwise, if you guys have any questions, post them. I'll do my best to answer. That way, if you guys are trying to decide between an amp, a digital amp or modeling amp, maybe I can give you guys better tips. I don't know. Let me know. Thanks, guys.